We were supposed to get a face-to-face briefing with the Secret Service snipers whenever they arrived, and that never happened. So I think that was probably a pivotal point where I started thinking things were wrong, because that never happened, and we had no communication with the Secret Service.
You had no communication with the Secret Service at all on that Saturday?
Not until after the shooting.
And by then?
It was too late.
You can call me a conspiracy theorist. You can call me any name in the book, but I am sorry. I do not believe that this Trump rally tragedy so easily occurred because of miscommunication between the various forms of law enforcement and security that were on site that day. No, I believe it was an intentional lack of communication. Meaning, I believe that certain agencies on scene intentionally did not communicate with the other forms of law enforcement and security on scene. Therefore, there would be a state of confusion. Therefore, the security at this rally would not run as smoothly as it typically does at all of the other rallies that Donald Trump has. Now, I don't trust anyone involved, from the Secret Service down to the officers there, but I will say that I do trust local law enforcement more than I do the Secret Service or those higher up, like in the 3-letter agencies. I don't have to name them here. You know who I'm talking about. So if I'm going to believe any stories coming out of this situation, and I don't believe many of them, but if I had to believe anything, I would believe the word coming from these local police officers before I believe what the Secret Service is saying, because the Secret Service, we know that they've lied already. I mean, they lied about simple things like the sloped roof. So how can I trust anything they said? And from what local law enforcement is saying, there was no communication at all. Now, we're all adults here. We've all worked in various different fields. We understand that sometimes you got to cut corners. Sometimes everything doesn't go as planned. But you see, maybe you could cut corners in security at the local Chuck E. Cheese. Maybe you could cut corners with security at a freaking Vanilla Ice concert in the year of 2024. You know, maybe things don't go as planned at your office. Maybe things don't go as planned at your job, whatever that job may be. But you see, this is a different situation. You don't cut corners when it comes to protecting the former, possibly future president. You make sure that everything goes according to plan when it comes to protecting these world leaders. Do you think that you think that anything like this would be so easily allowed to happen to Putin? I doubt it. We don't see stuff like this happening to those other leaders of these other powerful nations and countries. Yet it so easily happened to Trump. What a coinkydink. But there are former Secret Service agents that have been speaking out about this situation. And I want you all to listen to what one of these guys has to say right now. And then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
So the DA was a little bit more heavy-handed in blaming local cops. But in studying this situation, who should we be pissed at here?
To be honest, as I've said from the beginning, we should be pissed at the Secret Service. There should have been redundancies in place so that a single person dropping a post wouldn't have a monumental effect on history. In the end, it may be found that a single officer, a single agent, a single state trooper dropped a post. That's not the point. The Secret Service has to do better, and they know it. They have to design these things with multiple redundancies built in so that if one moves to find the shooter, there's another on overwatch. I've also heard that the rifle had a collapsible stock, making it more easy to conceal. It was either hidden behind the air conditioning or could have been in his backpack. So if this individual went through the magnetometers and was considered suspicious, he couldn't have brought the rifle because that certainly would have set it off. Right. He would have checked his bag. So we can debunk some of these things. As you and I first talked about, conspiracies are filling the holes, and we really need to get to the bottom of some of these.
I was a little worried about the title. Plot to kill Trump suggests that there was a multi-party plan. As you know, the term from the FBI was digital exhaust. There isn't much. They don't have any proof of that. People say, oh, but he had detonators, he had this, he had that. He didn't have anything. You can't easily get online and not really have to dig hard to get any suggestions about how to do this. So I'm not impressed by his preparation, but I am impressed by all the finger pointing. What do you make of state and local police telling different stories about this?
This is kind of fascinating to see because communications failure is quite possibly one of the main reasons for the failure of the Secret Service that day. And it's not for the reasons that everybody thinks about not sharing radios. The Secret Service uses highly technical, digital radios with encryption. They don't have the frequency of every local police officer, but they do have command centers where they can share communication. There was a state police officer in that communication center who could speak to the local police, but the state police blaming the local police saying we didn't do it. What is monumental here that baffles me is there has not been a joint press conference. I am stunned. And as to your comment about the plot to kill Trump, I do believe that potentially can fuel conspiracies, but I think the reason we're filling the area with conspiracies is this was such a simple, sad, and tragically easy thing for him to do that people just can't understand. I discussed with you before, Occam's razor. Nobody gets it. They want to fill those voids with complications, just like the fragmentary bullet idea that came out. And I'm not using theory anymore because a theory is something you're supposed to believe is true. These are hypotheses or far-flung ideas that have not borne out.
I'm sick and tired of this incompetence excuse. I knew that he was going to take it there because that's where everyone takes it. Oh, well, it's so easy to fill the void with conspiracies because of the incompetence and how easily this happened. No. I'm over it at this point. We cannot simply blame everything on incompetence. Yes, there's a lot of incompetent people. Yes, there's a lot of stupid people. Yes, there's a lot of people who were not qualified to be out there that day. But even the least qualified individual could have done a better job than what happened at that rally. You can blame incompetence, you can blame, and use incompetence as an excuse for a lot of things. But even the most incompetent of security would have stopped the Trump shooter, if you ask me. You could take Day and Craig from Friday After Next. A lot of you probably haven't seen that movie. But those of you all who have, you know what I'm talking about. Top flight security of the world. You could take Paul Blart Mall Cop. I literally, as a teenager, we had mall security that took their job so seriously, and I know for a fact they would have took down Thomas Matthew Crooks in a heartbeat. He would have never got up on that roof. But the Secret Service, FBI, local law enforcement, private security, and everybody in the goddamn world, any and every law enforcement agency and form of law enforcement and security you can think of, they could not stop this 20-year-old kid that they observed and watched for 3 hours as he plotted out his plan. So yeah, people are forming little theories. But that's because this is a conspiracy. This is a conspiracy. Therefore, people are forming theories because they know that the story that we're getting ain't true. Hell, they haven't gave us a motive. And yeah, there seems to be an extreme lack of press conferences. We haven't had the Secret Service and local law enforcement sit down together and talk to us about any of this stuff. And the media, they're moving on. But we're not moving on. We're going to keep talking about this. So go ahead and subscribe. Ring that notification bell. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you find yourself getting too worked up by all of this, remember, it's just political cinema.